coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. We have Daniel with me today, and we are full force back at it at WLS. Appreciate you guys hopping in here with us today. We're looking forward to a great show. We got a lot of topics we're going to plan on talking about today. And as always, I know it's going to be a little bit challenging probably to get out to all of them, but man, we've just got a ton of stuff we're going to talk to on this June 10th. My goodness, time flies when you're having fun. Hard to believe it. Here we are on Wednesday, rolling into another exciting midweek. We got a lot of hot weather this week. Had some rain yesterday, a lot of rain yesterday, depending on where you were at. I mean, it literally changed by just a few miles. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But Katie is back in the office with us today. Woohoo! So she's been gone about 7 years, it seems. And no, she was just out last week, as you guys know. And she's back in here today. And glad to have her back. And glad to have Daniel back. And Kyle is full force, and I'm full force. Our team's out rocking and rolling at full force. And we got a few things we're going to talk about today. I think you guys will like. We're going to talk about some bad bid opportunities. We're going to talk about preparation for what may be down the road. Who knows, right? So we got some of that conversation coming to a theater near you. But no, we got a lot of good content we're going to talk about today. I think you're all going to like, and I know you are going to send me a lot of good contact to follow through with. So, but with that being said, man, I hope everybody's week's going good. We had one area here yesterday, not too far from us here in Louisville, just up in southern Indiana, that got like anywhere between 7 and 9 inches of rain in about 2.5 hours, and had some tremendous flash flooding going on. I reached out to my buddies at BAM, and they were not able to hop on with me today. I wanted to talk to them about that. So we're going to try to get them on here Monday, I think, and see what's up with all this flash flooding going on. I mean, here in Kentucky, we had some flash flooding down in central Kentucky. I know my buddies down there, Seth and Aaron Walls, may have had some issues down there. Neither one of them reached out and talked about anything floating away. So, but I know down in both those areas right there in central Kentucky, I know had quite a bit of rain yesterday. They were actually in an extreme drought situation. So now it's bad. Now they didn't get 9 inches of rain. I think they were anywhere between like 2 to 4. Some isolated areas had a little more than that. But other than losing a day's worth of production, that's what we lost here at WLS. We wouldn't have had to lose the whole day. We could have got started yesterday, probably 1:30 to maybe 2 o'clock. Kyle's over there shrugging a little bit, like probably not. But anyways, I know on my way home yesterday about 5, I saw a lot of people out, and I do know this: if it'd been back in Wayne's previous life when he was working his regular job and going out afterwards, I'd have been out last night, mowing. So it was just so dry that the ground took it up pretty daggone well. Katie's laughing over there at us. I'm not so sure what she was laughing at, but she was laughing at me over there. But anyways, Katie's in the background comment. We should have put some headset on her. She actually has a headset on over there, but not for our radio talk here today. She's got that on for work. But anyways, hey, we're glad to have you with us. I'm glad you guys are listening in, whether you're listening in working or at your office, however you're doing it. We certainly do appreciate you guys listening, and always do appreciate all the comments. So, and I know you guys are out hammering it out hard. I mean, with all this rain, and even from our last rain, that popped up a lot of fungus issues. Excuse me a second. There we go. But a lot of fungus issues with lawns. So we're going to have Katie send out something to our customers about some red thread possibilities, to keep their eyes open for that, because with the high humidity and temperatures, above 70 at night and whatnot, we know we're going to see it. I was standing on my deck last night looking down, and I could see several little patches of it in my yard actually, as well. So, but yeah, red thread's going to be an issue for a few days, but it's that time of the year. And what I was thinking, I don't know about you guys and what your thought is on this, but I really do think that our springs are starting a little earlier and they're going a little longer, because it just is. I mean, and that prompted me to talk about one of the things we're going to talk about today is, how history kind of repeats itself. But I think our springs are coming in and rolling a little longer than normal, and then now rolling into our summer time frame. And I know we're just now hitting summer. Temperature today says we're going to hit summer, low 90s with heat indexes somewhere in the low 100s, 101, 102, somewhere in that ballpark. So we got to think about talking about that side of it. So, and I'm sure Daniel will be talking a little bit about that on his show with the heat, humidity, and trying to stay hydrated and what you need to do and all those things. But yeah, so a lot of good things like that coming your way for you guys that are doing fertilization and weed control. And, maybe you haven't done a lot of fungicides or insecticides in the past. Maybe it's something to consider, a good diversification of services that I know a lot of guys say, well, I'm just going to do my regular lawn program. I'm going to just do my, my fert and weed. And that's what we're going to do. And I can understand that based on your company size. Maybe you don't, diversify all the way into trees and shrubs and the blah blah blah. But certainly, fungicides, insecticides is something to consider as an add-on. And don't forget about our fertilization and weed control estimator. We make that simple to calculate cost for an application for a round. It's simply spreadsheets. It's like all of our other stuff. It's not software that you need to buy and implement. They're just when I say but they're simple, accurate, professional cost sheets that will calculate your chemical cost, labor cost, or your equipment cost, and get it into a program cost for you. So whether you're doing one-off applications of fungicides or insecticides, or want to include it into your regular program, it'll do that for you. So, and again, with that's only been out about a year now, and we're getting some very good reception to it. People using it, we use it. Obviously, we're using it, and it just works, and it's simple, accurate, and professional. So check that out on our website. Even if you say, hey, well, yeah, I don't want to do fungicides, but does it work for everything else? Absolutely. Anything that you've got included into your fert and weed program, fertilizers, pre-emergent, both liquid and granular, wettable powders. It doesn't matter what type of product you're using or how many rounds you're making. You input all that. Hey, I'm making 2 rounds of pre-emergent, or 1 round of pre-emergent, and this is what I'm using. This is what I want. All you need to know is the product you're using, the rate you want to use, and how many applications a year you're going to use it, and it'll come up with a cost for you. Okay, so makes it very simple to implement. And then any products that you've got into your rounds, let's say you're doing pre-emergent, weed control, and fertilizer. Okay, and then it'll calculate that cost for you and make it very simple into coming up with a per 1,000 square foot cost above and beyond whatever your minimum is. You get to set what your minimum is too with it. So it's all very company specific, like all of our products. Very, very little or limited. I don't even think there's an industry standard in it. Is it, Daniel? I don't think there's an industry standard one in that.
No.
because you guys know how I feel about industry standards. They're great to look at and delightful to hold, but if you use them, we mark your company broke. You know, that's just the reality of an industry standard. I mean, just because it's right for somebody else doesn't mean it's right for you. And that's why we have all of our things set up to be based on your overhead, your use rate, your desired profit margin. And so anyway, check that out. It's our fertilization weed control estimator. I want to give BAM a big shout out for their help yesterday. Like, well, Wayne, how they help you? Y'all didn't get anything done, but also we didn't have the expense of coordination of getting work done and then sending guys out for an hour to do something, and and then not get anything really accomplished within that hour. So big shout out to BAM. So if you're looking for a really excellent weather source, check them out. Very, very affordable. BAMWX.com. Let them know that you heard about them right here on the Profit Circle on Profit Time, and simply use coupon code Wayne, WAYNE, all caps, Wayne 20, and they get you a 20% discount on your subscription, whichever route you decide to go with them. But man, I just love that their weather's excellent, uh, but also just the access to 24/7 live meteorologists to give you input on, hey, this is when we think it's going to be raining at your location or within this zip code or whatever you want to ask them, man. That they will give you the information you need to make a very, very well informed decision weather-wise. And I guarantee you'll get your money back on your subscription fee, probably the first month, if there's any kind of weather at all. Now, if it's sunny and 70 year round where you're at, you don't need it. Don't need it, but there's not too many places that are sunny and 70 year round. If you got any weather you're going to deal with, whether it's snow, rain, sleet, kind of sound like the mailman now, but regardless, uh, and they will help you out, and that return on the investment is coming back to you, within 30 days, probably realistically, for the year. So something to consider for sure. But anyways, fungus issues absolutely coming on strong, and maybe we'll get a little dry period, but it looks like we're going to be dealing with this for a while. That's why we're going to send a constant contact out to our customers, just saying, hey, watch your yard for this. If it dries up, you probably don't need an application. If we continue to stay with the humidity at 70% and above, and at nighttime temperatures 70 degrees, you may want to consider having an application put down, and also use it as an informative piece for your customers. You know, hey, and bag your clippings if you have this going on. You don't want to be blowing those spores all over everything and spreading it up. So a lot of things to think about. So, good morning, Mike Murphy. Appreciate you hopping on here this morning with us, Mike. And actually, was just talking about the rain you guys had down in your area yesterday. I know we're trying to catch up today. Is what our goal is here at WLS, is to try to get ourselves back on track, and looking forward to that. Doing quite a bit of mowing today, and doing some landscaping today. Hitting lawns pretty hard today with our weed control, our summer applications of our weed control. I want to give a big shout out to Rob Rudd, my brother-in-law, who listens to us sometimes down there at Southern States. He's in Somerset, Kentucky, and taking care of us the other day and get me some of my product. Rob always takes care of me. Um, Getting our Nano Boost down there that we use. I don't know how many of you guys use an additive, with your products or not, but we use it's Nano Boost. It's a Monty's product, who is a national brand. We actually take care of their property here in Louisville for them, and but they are. They got a lot of different products, but that product there works really well. Helps us reduce our application rates per thousand or per acre, however you want to look at it. The Nano Boost does, with a quicker uptake with a chemicals that we are using. So quicker uptake, better retention within the plant and whatnot. So check it out. If not, I mean, um, Nano Boost. I mean, NANO Boost, and you look at it initially and you think, God, it's expensive. But when you look at the chemical that it saves you over the course of a round or a season or however you want to look at it, I think you'll find that it makes pretty good sense. So if you got any questions on it, I'm sure you can reach out to them, or give me a call sometime. I'd be happy to reach out, reach out back to you and tell you why we use it. But it is really a great additive product. So, and again, thanks, Rob. I appreciate you helping me with that. So, one thing I wanted to talk about today, and I got it right here in front of me, so you guys know I'm not kidding. Ta-da! We can see that. It's a bad proposal opportunities. And this one is for landscaping, fert and weed. Uh, uh, and this is just a bad opportunity. And I share that with you guys that hadn't been in business too long to understand that, you know, I know it takes a little more time and effort to go out and sell your own jobs and market and advertise and generate your own leads, and I'm not saying working for a national company as a subcontractor is a bad deal, but I'm just saying you got to be careful with who you're going to work with. And I'm not saying this is a bad company to work for. What I'm saying is, know that if you're going to work for somebody as a subcontractor or a national firm as a subcontractor, know that there is a lot of flexibility in what they will pay versus what they say they want to pay. Okay. And they always start out stupid low. I'm just going to say it that way because I can. They start out stupid low. And because anytime that, they've ever sent us a request for a proposal on anything, our first response is, well, we can't get near where you want us to be with this. And, and they're immediately, they email you back and say, well, what's it going to take? What do you need to have for your company? So I share that with you, that if you're going to work for as a subcontractor for a national firm, just know that the price they give you uh, off the bat and maybe one or two questions in is generally not going to be what they're really willing to pay. Okay. Because they've got a lot of hoops to jump through. I mean, look, this is something we received today from them, and let's see what we got here. We got 4 pages front and back on scope of work. What the mandatory requirements are, what the general requirements are. Then we get into, and you flip it over on the back, and it's routine mowing maintenance, and the mowing height, and you don't mow any more than 2 inches of grass at any one time, and you got to take a minimum of 5 pictures before and after to send them. Let's see, where did I see that? Let's see. 5 photos before and after required for each service. I mean, Daniel, do you know if you're a landscaper now, you get to be a photographer? And I understand why they want it. I understand why they want it. I mean, they want justification or no, let's rephrase that. They want proof that the job's been completed in satisfactory condition. Okay. But I mean, there's just a lot, obviously, of mandatory requirements, general requirements, weed removal and bed maintenance. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but weed control and or removal will be performed using appropriate manual and or chemical methods during landscape services and plant beds. Open beds, joints and walks, curbs and paved areas need to be maintained in a neat and proper appearance. Weeds in excess of 2 inches in height must be removed manually. Okay. So, and then that's just part of the scope. Okay. Now, trimming, they tell you about trimming. They are very descriptive in how they want it done. You know, vendor shall trim 7 feet in height as required by local ordinances. Vendor agrees to trim trees along roadways and entrances to at least 12 feet in height. Okay. So it's very specific. I'm not saying it's not good. It is very specific. But due to the specifications of the contract and all these specifications and picture requirements and, you know, turf and mowing and knocking on the door and or going in to see the facility manager, letting them know you're there. So that's documented, you know. Um, site inspection. Vendors shall be required to attend a periodic site inspection. You know, um, it's all good until you get to the part where they want mowing, weed whacking, string trimming, whatever you want to call it, bed maintenance, spraying the cracks, spraying the landscape beds, irrigation startup, irrigation shutdown, and blah blah blah. And there's a few more things to the scope of this contract. If you're interested, certainly you could reach out to Ferrandino and Son, and they got a nice website. There's their logo in case somebody wants to reach out to them. And but my point is, until they get talking about what they're willing to pay for all these services. Now, none of these are huge facilities, but they're like, okay, well, the 5 or 6 that they sent us pictures of that they want, a proposal on, they're like 160 a month, 225 a month, 180 a month. And this is not 12 months, even though that wouldn't cover. This is February through November. Fred makes a really excellent point. He says the only way to make it work is to cut corners, and skip services. But that's going to come back to haunt you because, you can't slash, or I guess you could. Absolutely. You'd always cheat if you wanted to cheat or skip. But they're requiring pictures on the frequency of any invoice submission or any work order completed submission. So it makes you wonder a little bit. Okay, well, what's really going on? That how in the world can somebody? I mean, let's just say it's 200 a month over 10 months, December, January, yeah, $2,000 a year, and they're wanting, the mowings for our area. I think it was 32 mowings a year, or 30. I can't remember what it was, but that obviously changes in everybody's market. But still, then you got your 4 to 6 lawn applications that they want, the monthly bed maintenance, no weeds any taller than 2 inches in the beds, or they got to be pulled. I mean, why do they think? And I'm going to answer this because, and then you guys give me your all's opinion on it too. But why do they think, first of all, that somebody's going to do it for that? And the answer is somebody will do it for that, as you all know. But the reason I'm really even sharing this is because for you guys that are out there that want to do work for some of these national firms that go out and do this and then get their subcontractors throughout the country to do the work, I'm not saying it's bad work. I'm just saying know that the price that they tell you they're willing to pay is flexible. Okay. And, just because you say, oh, well, hey, it's 6 facilities, Wayne, that they want to give me. And at $200 a month, well, $200 a month, $2,000 a year, that's $12,000 on those accounts, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what the account generates if it's not a profitable account. So if you are going to engage, and we're going to move on here, okay? But if you are going to engage with a company as a subcontractor, and specifically a national company as a subcontractor, And I hear both good and bad. I'm not that guy that's going to work for one of these companies because I'd rather spend my own money on my own marketing and advertising, generate my own leads, sell my own jobs, right? Because, excuse me, we know one thing for sure. They're not doing this for the fun of it. They meaning the person that's holding the contract, where it's Ferrandino or whoever it is, doesn't matter who it is. Okay. But, and I'm not saying not to be a subcontractor because there's money to be made as a subcontractor. I'm saying don't cheat yourself by looking at something like this and saying, oh man, this is really, decent work. All I got to do is go out and do the work. I know how that mindset rolls through your mind. Okay. A lot of people think that way, man. I don't like selling the work. I like doing the work. I don't like collecting the money. Well, I can tell you it's very specific in here as far as payments go too, that, hey, you have to have the picture submitted. You have to have the work order submitted. You have to have the completed work order submitted, along with your invoices to get paid. Okay. And none of that is unfair, realistic expectation. I mean, they're all realistic expectation on their end. But also, what we need to think about is what's fair for you, the contractor, that's doing the mowing, the trimming, the weeds, the lawn apps, the fall cleanups, the spring cleanups, paying somebody to do the irrigation startup and blowout. I mean, we got a great company that we work with. Alex is a great guy that we work with on our irrigation stuff. But I know that, for his startup and shutdown, that's taken a month of this pay away from us at what they offered. Okay. So just don't get yourself hung up in looking at something and saying, man, that's going to be $10,000 a year or $40,000 a year or whatever it is. Doesn't matter if it's kinder care locations or dollar stores, or it can fill in a blank on what it is that you're taking care of. Just make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze that you're putting into it. And I know that's a very old saying, but that's the reality of it. Just make sure that it's worth your time and effort. And I mean, Daniel, we see it all the time talking with guys in here. They they look at the total scope of the dollar volume more than the work. Would you say that's fair? And
Yeah, they see it as,
they,
oh wow, this is going to put this much money into my business.
yeah, they look at it
breaking it down into
cash flow versus look as, hey, what am I really getting out of this other than the busy work? So, and again, I'm gonna say it one more time and we'll move on. But I'm not saying not to be a subcontractor. Number one, I'm not saying not to work for Ferrandino and Sons. Number two, or anybody else out there that offers subcontractor work to you. Okay. My only suggestion is that you understand your costs so you can bid the job properly. And then if it fits, because when you talk about knocking on the door every time you get there, 5 pictures every time you get there, submitting those pictures through their portal at the completion of the job, okay, getting the work order signed if the work order needs to be signed off on your visits. Let's just say you can do all that in 7 minutes. Okay? Let's just say you can do all that in 7 minutes. All right, which I think would be a really, really fast time period. But let's just say you can. I've tried to cheat it down to Fred's point, right? Fred, I'm trying to cut the corners here and say how low could you possibly do this? And let's just say that takes 7 minutes on 30 visits. That's 210 minutes times you, and if you got anybody helping you, now you got 420 minutes. Divided by 60 is how many labor hours you've got in just signing in, signing out, taking pictures, and submitting them through your portal. So, what's 400 divided by 60? Somebody real quick. 6/8 is 480. So it's going to be a little less than that. Daniel's working on it as we speak.
6.66.
Oh God, of all opportunities, it's 6 point. All right. So let's just say it's 6 hours.
Well, closer to 7. But
So yeah, 7 hours. Even if you're at $90 an hour, that's $560 in time. If you're at 90 an hour, and if they're paying you 200 a month, that's 200 and what's that? That's 2 months, 2.5 months, right? Is that? Well, no, it's 3 months, 3 point something on months of payment for nothing other than reporting time. So don't get yourself hung up in it. That's all I'm going to say. Make sure you're bidding the jobs properly. So it's an easy way to lose money. It's a fast way to gain accounts, but you got to balance those two out, right? We talked about work-life balance the other day in our webinar that Katie did for us on work-life balance. And that's certainly not a good work-life balance opportunity there. So be careful with that. So that makes me think about speaking about work-life balance. Craig sent me a neat little video. Yeah, right. Mike said, "Yeah, that's funny, Mike." The guy, he's got a great comment up here, Daniel. I know you can't see the comment, but he says they want you to provide $8,000 worth of service for $3,000. You know, that's what it amounts to. That really does. Craig sent me a cool video the other day, yesterday, matter of fact, and when I looked at it, if you guys haven't seen it, it's really cool. It's over in England, and it's a soccer game, is what it amounts to, and they're playing this soccer game, and it's literally raining on about half the field, and not raining on the other half of the field. It's really cool. If you'd like to see it, if you're friends with Craig, ask him to send it to you, or if not, I'll send it to you. It's on Instagram, but it made me think about, and Craig said, "Hey, Wayne, think about a metaphor for this, and immediately what I came up with, it's always greener on the other side, and a lot of times that is the way it is. It's always greener on the other side, and sometimes then let's look at it a little bit differently though, and says, what's it really tell you? Well, if you're on the rainy side of the field and you're going toward the other side, sometimes you're just a few steps away from something better than what you're in. And if you're on the good side going to the rain, chasing the ball, all right, or running your business, then sometimes you're just a few steps away of something weird happening too.
I think another takeaway from that is that just because it's raining doesn't mean you can't still score a goal.
Absolutely, Daniel. Elaborate a little bit on that from a business perspective, if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, I know you wanted to talk about this today, but economy is an example of that,
Yeah,
right? Just because the economy is bad doesn't mean you can't have a successful business within that economy.
Because the reality of it is, I know when I coached Little League, and it's funny, anybody that coached Little League always says I coached Little League, but I had a National League umpire that lived out in Mount Washington, and he always did our umpire clinics for us out of the kindness of his heart, doing a little training. And he said, and I never will forget one of the first things he did when he when he started. He says, "How many of you guys are coaches out here, first of all?" And all the guys and girls raise their hands, and he says, "No." He said, "Coaches get paid." He said, "You're volunteers," and that point is kind of like not the same as this, but very similar, is preparing yourself for something. How do we prepare ourselves? for something. And there's a few things y'all have heard me say it a lot, man. I've been in business a long time, and I've seen a lot of things come and go, and a lot of things are very cyclical in business. And when Craig sent this video to us, that got me thinking about it. That you know, what are some things that may happen? And I don't know. I'm not an economist, but I do see a few things happen, and I see, we see inflation going up. We're seeing fuel prices go up and down, and they're fluctuating with whatever's, with what's going on in our country with the global, what we want to call it,
with the war.
with the war. All right. I didn't know if we were politically correct
I
to
don't
say
know
that.
if it's politically correct, but if people are shooting at you, I think it's pretty much a war.
Fair enough. Fair enough. With what's going on, so with the war. So, but prior to that, even, you know, we've seen inflation going up, we've seen interest rates going up, we've seen material costs going up, and pricing. Uh, I mean that's a constant, right? I mean, for any of us been in any business any length of time, you do see that fluctuation. But what also I see with my experience is that that's telling me that, hey, Wayne, when do we see this? Well, we always see some of this happening, but when you start pushing all these pieces of this puzzle together, for me, it's telling me that we may be heading toward, and I'm not going to say recession, depression, whatever. I'm going to say, I'm just going to position my company a little differently, proactively, and think, okay, what if we are in a potential downturn of the economy? So I don't get caught like in 2008, where a lot of companies got caught and they weren't paying attention to, well, okay, interest rates are up, material costs are up significantly, wages are constant or down. Let's see, what money getting harder to acquire, right? When all these pieces of this puzzle start pushing together, then that tells Wayne that, hey, we may be heading toward a little bit of a downswing or a big downswing. Who knows what it's going to be potentially in the economy. And if that happens, now who knows? It probably won't be as bad as it was in 2008, right? I get that as well. All right, I do. I understand that. But what can we start doing? What can we start doing is what I want everybody to ask ourselves, to potentially position ourselves to get ready for that. Because, for me, then we were pretty well positioned anyway, because we had made some changes within our company prior to 2008 to help us survive a down economy and get through a down economy, or maybe even do better with certain aspects of our company in down economy. You say, well, Wayne, how's that possible? Well, it's not the hardest thing in the world if you plan for it. It's like anything else. If we position our company to be successful, and that's going to look different for each and every one of us, um, Corey said that's exactly why he paid a truck off before surgery. He was planning, right? He was planning on something. And I made myself a few notes to keep myself on track here, because I'm sure we'll get some input from you guys with this. And I am curious what you all think. Seriously, give me some comments on that, guys. I'm curious what you all think. How is it in your market right now? Where do you think it's going to get better? You think it's going to worse? Is it going to stay constant? But again, all I'm looking at is things that have happened in the past, right? And when you see inflation, interest, material costs, fuel prices all going in a higher condition, and then money getting harder to get, that's a sign that, hey, economy's not as stable as it could be, right? When they're not wanting to lend the money out, those institutions, right? But the reality of it, I think, boils down to if you plan a little bit, and maybe that planning may require some diversification of services. There was a thing on social media the other day, Daniel, a guy brought up, and that really provided the idea to talk about this here on the radio was they were like residential versus commercial work. What's more stable, or what should I try to build on? And that residential mowing is going to be one of the first things to go. It always has been. In 2008 it was, and I was even going in what was it in the late, I think it's the late 70s, early 80s when interest rates hit 21%. How many of you guys were in the industry then? I mean, my God, interest rates were stupid high, you know. But again, so what are you going to look for? Well, let's look at what's going to be more stable. I think commercial work is going to be more stable than residential mowing because a lot of people that we all mow for residentially, I believe this, and regardless of your market, a lot of those are want-based jobs by those people. Hey, I want somebody to mow my lawn so I can, go to my kid's soccer game or baseball game or basketball game, fill in the blanks, whatever it is, or I want to go to the lake, or I want to, just have my free time, right? But if so, we do have a downturn in the economy and people start, getting laid off for less hours, all this is going to affect their disposable income. So, really, what I'm asking you guys to do is take a look at your customer base and ask yourself how much of your customer base uh, is the little old lady on Social Security, and not just literally that person, but that customer profile of somebody that, they need to have the service done, but they may be a little more price driven if the economy's not real great, or if you're in that dual working household situation where one of them would lose their job or get laid back on their hours. What's the first thing they can do? Well, they can cut mowing out because now they're going to have time to do it, or they don't have the money to do it, so they're going to have to find the time to do it. Now some of that may be, well, hey, we'll just get, maybe, Wayne, I'm counting on my people to get another part-time job. Well, some will, some won't, right? Goes back to my buddy Steve Russ. You say that all the time. Some will, some won't. So what? In selling. But when it comes down to the economy, okay, I want you guys to be thinking about, not that we're going to have a significant downturn, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not an economist. Daniel, you follow that stuff pretty good. What's your gut thought on it? I mean, I don't think it's tomorrow or the next
I
day.
don't know. I mean, I feel like it's kind of, I don't want to say like leveled out by any means, but I do think the fear, I think there's more of a fear of uncertainty than there is a fear of, oh, it's definitely going to happen.
The reality, I do too.
I think it's more of the uncertainty of um, the unknown situation. Yeah, I don't know. I think
I think
if I had to bet on it, I would say I would bet against it personally.
Against it going in a bad direction.
I think so.
I do too. Really,
I just think I think we've hit like a a turning point a little bit in some things. I mean,
right?
just looking at like, I mean, I know gas prices is a very small thing to look at, and overall economy isn't dictated by gas prices by any means. But I mean, that's one that has kind of turned a little bit, and that can turn back tomorrow. You don't know.
And it's actually lower now than it was.
And that's
we're down to 333 this morning coming in to work.
Yeah. And I know people are, definitely with interest rates thinking about those kind of things. But I think those are probably 12 to 18 months probably better than they are right now.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I just think
I
there's just a
think you're
lot of
right on target
uncertainty.
with it. The uncertainties is holding some people back.
Yeah.
And my whole point on this whole thing today with this is, and Mike Murphy put it up here, but it let's plan for something. Let's position our company to be successful through something that may be a downturn. Because if it's going to be successful through a downturn, it will be successful now.
Right.
And it'll be even better now because you don't have that outflow of customers that would be affected by a turn in the economy.
Yeah.
But what we do know is the economy's cyclical.
Right.
And we don't have to be an economist to do that. We just got to look at history. I mean, it's this, it's up, down,
it's
up,
gonna,
down.
whether
It's
it's
Peaks
this year,
Valley.
next year, and 10 years,
You
it's
know,
probably going to happen.
It's going to happen again.
Relatively within the life cycle of your business. Still being around,
right?
hopefully.
And
even talking about, is it going to happen? That's even secondary to the point of, like, the fear and the unknown, the fear of the unknown that does hold people back, is just as potent on your business as a real situation occurring.
Yeah,
Because
the
really, the only
reality.
thing that's different during an economy downshift, or if, one of the big things that's different is that, um, or like the similarity, I guess, between like a downshift and the fear is that people aren't spending money, right? Like, that's the thing. Whether
Right.
they've lost their job yet or not, people may or may not at this point be not spending as much money on this particular industry.
Correct.
Or will within the next 3 or 4 months be doing that.
And
whatever.
that goes back to, hey, if you plan a little bit now, hey, whether it's paying equipment off, whether it's looking at your customer base and saying, hey, who within my customer base do I think is going to survive a downturn in the economy? And we start thinking about, adjusting / replacing some of that now. The good thing is you don't have to just go out and say, hey, I got to get rid of them and they're gone. But what you got now is time to be proactive. So then when it does happen again and you got to be reactive, there's less reactive measures going on within your business. So that's the main point of this is let's get in the preparatory mode, if that's a word. Let's get in a preparation mode of, hey, if it'll work in a down economy, it'll certainly work now. So let's don't take now's business model and be 100% content with it. And I'm not saying go out and change everything you're doing. I'm just saying take a look at what you're doing and ask yourself, what can we do to fine tune it? Because, when things do hit the fan, and they will again, then you don't want that big hit all at one time. That's why there was, our failure rates, and you guys know this, and Dana, we talk about it all the time. They're huge for the industry. But in 08, the last time we had a big hit, we had a big hit, within the industry, because there were a lot of guys out there that were just mowing lawns, and didn't have any idea why they're doing, what they're charging. And the people that they were predominantly serving are people that could no longer had the disposable income. And that's traditionally what we go after at Wayne's Lawn Service with a residential market. Is our target client is that client with disposable income to do with what they want, not with what they need. And when you've got a customer base set up of more customers that are just barely getting by, and I don't mean barely scraping by literally, but when you've got that little old lady on Social Security, for an example, that, another 20% to her is going to be unacceptable, or 15%, where 20% to some of your customers, just like some of our customers, or 10%, is going to be a big hit. So it really, now what's it boiled down to? It really boils down to, as we talk about regularly, is when we do have that downswing, uh, you've got to 100% know that two things are going to happen. Potentially your costs are going to change. You might say, well, Wayne, how's my cost going to change? Well, if your use rates are less, then your cost per hour is going to increase. So now the quick change to that is, well, if my cost per hour is going up and I've got less potential buyers that are going to buy, then who am I robbing Peter to pay Paul? Well, I'm going to my profit margin in a down economy a lot of times and saying, hey, instead of, I'm just going to make a number up here, instead of 20% margin, maybe we're going to take 10% margin right now to maintain, still be profitable, but let's get through it. It's kind of like in my one of my seminars that I do, I've got a picture of the devil as we talk about, what we do in a slow economy or down economy. It's a picture of a devil. And I talk about, and some of you guys listen to us may have seen it or been to one of our seminars where we talked about that and being in a down economy. But the reality of it is, as we're going through hell, we're not going to stop pictures and take pictures. Let's just get through it. And one of the biggest things you will do when the economy swings in a not so great direction for our industry is, number one, turn the news off, because you know how bad it is. You know the effect it's having on your company. But turn the news off, number one. And secondly, know that cost potentially are going to change, which means break-even point's going to change. And you're probably going to have to share some of that margin for a period of time with your customers. In other words, reduced profit margin. And some of them you will leave exactly the same. And some you may have to get rid of, and some will get rid of you. So all of that said, it really just is all about what? It's all about the pre-plan.
And I think,
can we pre-plan?
Sometimes there's a sentiment in this industry and in the small service business industries that, it's a hard time and my customers are struggling, so I need to do something to help them out. Which, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with helping people out, but if your business is struggling to maintain profit margins or whatever, and you've backed them off a little bit, and customers are still saying saying, oh man, I'm struggling to do this, I'm struggling to pay bills, that's not your responsibility per se, really, at all, to lower your prices more for your customers. Meaning, like, just because you have been working for this customer and you have maybe, you've talked to them for a couple of years and you kind of feel like you know them a little bit, and, you've seen pictures of their grandkids or whatever, like, it's good to be helpful. It's good to want to help people and do that. But there comes a point to where you have to also understand that the health of your business is the top priority, because it's supporting you and your family as well. So, like, saying, oh, well, no, I need to, where people are struggling right now, I need to lower prices. Well, then you're going to be struggling as well. So don't put yourself in the position to feel bad so much that you're going to then put your own self in a worse position trying to help other people.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Daniel. And, it's, if you don't have a credit line for your company, I'm not saying go out and get one now, but I am saying go out and get one now. Not that you're going to, I'm not trying to say borrow your way through a bad economy, but if we do have a significant change, or when we have a significant change come along, the reality of it is have the things in place that need to be in place to get you through it. That's just it. Like I said, I've been through two pretty significant uh, economy changes, and one was in 2008, and it seems like there was something that happened in the teens, 14, 15 or something,
I
and
mean, right.
then really significant in the early 80s.
Yeah, and I mean, you could even say the early times of COVID were pretty significant in regards to a lot of fear, right? A lot of,
that's
I
right.
mean, we did see a boom kind of during the lockdown because, whatever reason people wanted to spend money on that, whatever reason. But
right.
But before that, there was a lot of fear. That March to whenever, when people were just had no idea if the world was going to be burning or not. Like,
yeah,
that's pretty significant. In the history books of your business, if you were in there, I'm sure you can easily pull that memory and know what that was like.
Know what that was like, and that's what it looks like. So, diversify your services. That's something that I think would be very important. Look at diversification of your services. Look at who can afford your services. Is it going to be high end clientele? Is it going to be medium range clientele? Some of your high profile residential customers may be part of that job cut. That's the other thing. But what you can do is start thinking about it now. That's number one. Start the preparation now of looking at your customer base. Number one, making some changes potentially within your customer base now. Start getting get your equipment paid down. Know that, hey man, if I can reduce my overhead and then my use rates do go down on my equipment, well, if I don't have the additional overhead going on, then what can we do? Well, then what we can do is reduce cost to a certain extent because we don't have the financing going on within some equipment. We can start putting a little bit of cash back. That's another thing. The bottom line is you will survive it. You can survive it for sure. And most of you guys will survive it because you're smart, But what we need to do is let's plan for it now, because proactive is always better than reactive in any situation. But know that there's going to be some reaction moments that are going to be required too. And that's just a fact of running a business in a down economy or slow economy. There is some reactionary moves that are going to take place, for each and every one of us. But, the top things, gosh, there's so many. I mean, but, outside kind of what we've talked about, but something to think about here is number one is we've already talked about it, but know your costs. Know your costs are going to change. Know your margin's going to probably change with some of your services. Not all of them. Absolutely not all of them. Because it's just not. I mean, in 3 different or 4 scenarios now, throwing COVID into it, Daniel, like you said, things are different. Things will be different, but different doesn't mean that it won't work. It means you got to know how you're going to handle it. So know that your costs may change and or your profit margins may be different, maybe lower for a while, maybe higher for a while. Maybe some of the services that you're going to offer to the people that are already customers or maybe new customers is, people that still have plenty of disposable income. So those customers and those type jobs are going to be good. And what that means is, then you've got to market the right message to the right customer during a different time frame as well. So that means your marketing and advertising is going to change a little bit. Okay. So what's working right now may not be the same type of marketing and advertising that you're going to do when the economy changes. A lot of people want to cut marketing money out when we get into a slow economy because it's a budgeted item on money. In a lot of cases, it's not spent already. So you think, it's an easy thing to not spend. But here's what we got to think about. When the economy goes south or goes bad or north, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. What's it mean? It means there's less customers to go around, not more customers to go around. So your marketing and your advertising efforts have got to be in place and intact, and knowing how you're going to generate those leads. So we got to know our cost. We got to have a good marketing plan in place and know that we're not going to stop advertising to save money. As a matter of fact, you're probably going to spend more in advertising. So figure out where that money is going to come from. Maybe now you start putting back a little bit extra strictly for marketing efforts when it happens, And then certainly last but not least is those value-oriented customers that are out there will still be out there, but you're just going to have to work a little bit harder for them. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys hopping on with us today as always. And the reality of it is, Wayne, why are you talking about gloom and doom? Well, I don't think we were talking about gloom and doom. I think we were talking about properly preparing ourselves for when we do have a downturn in the economy. What can we do now that's going to protect and put a shield, if you will, around our business to help us be successful, to help us stay profitable, and not be one of the guys on social media that are doing nothing other complaining about it only because they didn't make a plan for it. Plan for it now and know that the solution is the plan. And when we plan, we're doing less reaction. And when we're doing less reaction, it means our plan was right in place. But no, there will be some reactionary moves that you're going to make, just like we make reactionary moves every day right now within our businesses, right? I think we can all agree to that. So when things change, they don't have to change that much as long as we've thought about it. And I know I've beat this horse hard today, but I just know one thing for sure, that surviving 4 different bad events in the early 80s when interest rates were over 20%, in 08, and I think sometime in the early teens, can't remember exactly when it was, getting through COVID. Like Daniel's point was excellent on COVID. We had one of our record years was during COVID. It's because people were at home, they had the disposable income, and they were spending the money because they didn't realize how bad their landscape looked. So landscaping increased. So that's where diversification comes into play. So with that being said, appreciate you guys. We'll definitely see you. Friday, I guess. Yeah, Friday. I was going to say Wednesday. I was thinking today was Monday, Daniel. Holy shnikes. That'll happen to you all someday. No, but no, seriously. Put the plan in place, work the plan, adjust the plan as necessary, and remember, profit is not a dirty word. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you Friday.